see it as a group chat style with all of the agents that you collaborate with for a specific project within a specific chat. So it's much more of this kind of fun, engaging way, and where agents can work together on a problem in a much more seamless experience, both from a user perspective and then also a kind of workflow perspective.
Yeah, so from someone who's using Pencil day to day, like what will be the big like impact for them? How will they feel the impact of Universal Chat when it's in production?
Well, hopefully it won't be too much of a change because we're not hoping to completely disrupt how users are leveraging Pencil today. But I think the biggest change will probably be this sense of ownership of your conversations,
Mm.
where you have, again, full control of them as they're tied to you as the user. And then I think the other area to it is the functionality of making these conversations public if you choose to, which very much can become more of a learning for the rest of the users that are on your workspace to kind of see how do you prompt agents to get the outputs that you want, and how can you learn from each other to essentially increase the output both in terms of quality and quantity by
Yeah.
using the best practices of prompting for your brand, for your product, and for the specific projects that you're working on.
Yeah, it's almost like the AI equivalent of having a Slack workspace or something where you can see all of the chat history, right? And I do find, I think even in conversations I've had with you about like email sends or whatever, it's like I almost, you can see the value in sharing the conversation that you've had with the AI, right? Like sometimes I'll even ask it for to summarize the conversation. So I haven't got to share, I haven't got to send a link and they've got to go back and find it. I'll often ask the AI to like bullet point the conversation that we've been having. So that's really what this is, right? You're able to share with your colleagues the process that you've gone through in order to come to the conclusion that you've come to on whatever piece of work it is.
Exactly, and I think everyone actually runs into this, whether you're an expert at prompting or not. It matters so much how you structure the prompt, so the request that you're giving to
Yeah.
the agent, right, and the specific instructions that you're providing as well, down to the specific word, the structure of the sentence, how you refer to the objects or subjects that you want to reference. There's a bunch of things that goes into structuring an effective prompt.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes it actually also ties a lot into what you're trying to accomplish. So it's almost very difficult to create this one fits all type of prompt where everyone gets the same output. It's almost for your own brand and the things that you're working on. Over time, you will become very skilled in how to structure your prompts in order to get the output that you're looking for. And again, if you have that ability to kind of share that with your colleagues, I think it can be very powerful to essentially help everyone along to ensure that they know how to best work with the agents in order to get to the outcome that they're looking for.
Yeah, I like it's useful because I'll often find now that I'm suspicious of output that I'm getting from a chat, just from ChatGPT or whatever. I sort of worry that I'm leading it in the direction I want it to go in, right? And not being objective in my prompting and in my requests. And I find that if you ask a sort of leading question, if you say, this is okay, right? Then it will probably say, yeah, that's fine. Whereas if you say, is this a good idea or not, then it might be a little bit more negative, right? So I can see the value in, you can understand how that kind of it almost biases to the user, right? It's that sycophancy thing. You can see how that would play out across an organization and how there is value in inspecting the prompts that people have used to get to a certain destination, right? Like, when you play that out across video generation or image generation, like you can, if you're inspecting people's prompts, you can understand how they've been leading the AI into the direction that it's found itself in.
Yeah, kind of two parts to that. I think a lot of people have been talking, and it's not only Pencil, right, but AI in general, kind of this confirmation bias to your point,
Yeah.
right, of it becomes um, so much agreeable with everything you said that you almost have to stop yourself and say, hang on, do I even believe in this anymore? And you almost want to
Yeah.
push back. And then you start to see that these new outputs are being generated. And I think that's kind of the beauty of being able to have these control checks and be able to share conversations that you have. For example, within Pencil, we were a big kind of group. We're all trying to solve this one specific task that a team member was working on. And we were all working on our own individual workspaces, kind of same task, looking for the same outcome, but everyone was approaching it in a different way. And then we would share over Slack kind of how we got there, what we were doing to get there. And it became this very powerful moment of, again, sharing where everyone could work individually without being disrupted in a way of this having the conversation tied to yourself and working through the problem while still being able to share that with the rest of our team members, so everyone can kind of take the learnings and say, oh, I'm almost there. If I apply some of this that someone else did, can I get closer? And it was a really cool experience actually of being able to work on something yourself, but then being able to kind of look over to your left and the right, see what everyone else was doing, and see how you can incorporate that into how you were approaching the problem. So hopefully Universal Chat enables this kind of best of both worlds where you feel that you have full control over the conversations that you're having while still having um, a healthy collaborative environment where you can share and learn from each other.
So I'll just quickly pause there to just let people know that if they have any questions for Doug about Universal Chat or about anything else product related, probably he'll do his best to answer them. So drop them into the comments on YouTube or LinkedIn, and we will do our best to ask them. So Doug, back to you. So we're currently in beta on Universal Chat, and we are. So do you want to let us know when we're going into production, and maybe a bit about like what we've learned on the journey so far in beta?
Yeah, so I think around this time tomorrow, I think we'll get out of beta and go into production. So everyone should be able to have that by default on their workspace and be able to see and interact with Universal Chat, as we call it internally. Um, the learnings, I think, has been quite a lot. It was a little bit of a shift from how we were working within Pencil before, as I mentioned, tying it to a work item and making the chat something that everyone could kind of carry on. Um, was something that I think in the beginning will take a little bit of time to get used to. But once you get used to it, you start to realize the real benefit of actually having it structured that way. Um, we also started realizing as we had this kind of more group style chat of being able to work with multiple agents and having it in one string, how that uncovered these new exciting ways of working. And I think that's where we start to move more towards this group chat style uh, engagement. And I think in terms of the UI, you will see those updates, I think, later next week.
Okay.
They should come out. But yeah, again, I think the main things that we learned was the ability to work with your own in your own workflow and have these conversations with different agents in one central place, take it across the platform, and then be able to kind of share it to tell your team members of this is what I did and look at the outcome. And others can then take that and apply it to their own workflow was probably the biggest learning of how that could unlock new ways of working without kind of being in each other's way.
Excellent. So tomorrow, certainly this week, everybody watching this will be able to get stuck in themselves, start using the feature, and hopefully they can let us know what they think about it, either on social or email or anywhere else. So look, is there anything else that you're particularly excited about that you've got on your radar right now that you want to discuss or flag from a product standpoint?
Um, well, I can give a quick shout out to some updates on the homepage that actually went out today. What we're trying to do is help everyone on the platform get access to more content to hopefully help help them learn more about how to leverage Pencil for different use cases and even diving into specific areas of the product. So we have a bunch of good content from our training team that they have put together. As Tom mentioned earlier, we also have all the webinars and live events that we're doing and hosted on Gradual, which is our community platform. So community.pencil.com, I think it is, right?
Community.trypencil.com. Yeah, close.
Trypencil.com, that's right.
Yeah.
I would encourage everyone to go there. I think the team really is putting up some really cool stuff, and we're hoping to host some of it as an entryway in the product, but really cool stuff going up there, and anyone can ask any questions. You get almost access to anyone within Pencil trying to come in and help answer questions. So I would say I'm excited about that, of being able to have stronger communication with customers and have customers and users help each other on the community. And then I think you also mentioned kind of sheets and feeds, which
I did.
is kind
Yeah,
of this.
well, that's one of the webinars. So that's Tim, our head of training, is hosting a webinar on Nano Banana in feeds on the 23rd. So that is on Thursday.
That one I would be really excited about as well, because once you start to understand how you can leverage this tool to really ramp up your production, you can hit scale like I haven't seen before. It's
Yeah.
very, very cool. It can be highly customizable to what you're trying to do, and it gives you the ability to kind of string together agents to work on specific tasks and then really get to production at scale. So I would encourage everyone to tune into that. Very exciting. And on the product side, we're also starting to look at some of those kind of quick wins, if you can call it that, quality of life enhancements to make the tool even easier to use and more powerful. So I think that is an area of Pencil right now that is a little bit of a hidden gem. But once you kind of uncover that gem, you'll realize that there's so much here in terms of value for you and your team that you can unlock with AI.
Yeah, I mean, on feeds very quickly, I really think that is the future, right? Like when you see the workspace of someone who's really like a power user, a Pencil power user using feeds, and creating like just immense scale with AI, just for someone who's been in marketing, digital marketing for 10 years or so, it's just unimaginable. If I think about myself as a a junior social media manager years ago, being able to access that much variety, variations, languages, everything so quickly and like effortlessly, it's just, I wouldn't have been able to believe it. I think that's where the real power of the technology is going to be realized, in my opinion, is in feeds. I think that's the future of marketing, honestly.
Yeah, and if you almost take it a step higher, it's this sense of workflows. And I think that's how we work today, right? It's not one person do everything. It's a workflow of tasks that needs to be executed, sometimes in a set order or kind of jointly,
Yeah.
simultaneously, but it's still in this kind of workflow way. And I think that's kind of where we're going with Pencil and the industry of really making true value or getting true value out of this content production. So it's really specific to what you're trying to accomplish. So if you think about the workflow and agents and stringing that together, you can kind of have this very step by step, multiple agents working together to accomplish a project, from looking at data and performance and seeing what's working here, taking that and analyzing out of what's working, what are the things that are standing out that we should pay attention to, what are the common themes, passing that on to then saying, how do I iterate on that work to create more of what's working, and then mass produce it if you need that. So have real production at scale, so you can see here's what's working, here's different variations of that work, and then be able to send that off and test it again, and then get
Yeah.
back that data. And it's kind of this iterative loop that you will be able to do incredibly fast in a way that I think wasn't really possible before.
No. Well, it was, but as you said, it just wasn't fast, right? Like I think like that iterative loop on digital performance has always been there, but it's been very manual before, and it's like, and it's over the course of a month with different meetings with different people, just making that wheel turn smaller and faster over time is just going to be so powerful, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And then if you take that one step further, omni-channel, right? You have more than one channel. You can learn from different channels and apply it elsewhere. You have the
Mm.
separation between paid and owned, so the channels that you own, the communication that you have directly with your customers versus potential customers or prospects that you see out in the market. Be able to learn from each other, apply those learnings across different channels, and doing it to your point at speed, I think will be incredibly powerful. So I'm really excited about the direction that we're going in that sense, and I think
Mm.
it could unlock a lot of cool things.
100%. And if anybody is interested in this idea of predictive analytics, or certainly, I guess what predictive analytics is doing all of that at scale and then forecasting what your performance is likely to be before you've even deployed those ads. I think that's a fair characterization. You're nodding, yep, that's good. If anybody's interested in learning a little bit more about that, as I mentioned at the top of the stream, we've got a blog that's just gone live on the website with a really interesting rundown on like the way that we think about that mathematically here at Pencil, and what the kind of nuts and bolts are behind our predictive analytics, which I believe is unlike anything out there in the industry. I know I would say that, but I think it's a
Not
real cool
biased
thing.
at all, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I know. So yeah, I don't know if you've got anything to say on predictive analytics before we think about wrapping up. But yeah, the blog's out there if anybody wants to read it.
I would read the blog. I think there's definitely things you can do that. Again, what I see is really cool about Pencil, and I think what we're trying to do is make it much more personalized. And I think that
Mm.
goes from the tooling that you use all the way to the creative that you put out, right? I think more and more as advertisers try to fight for attention from the customers they're trying to reach, personalization is incredibly important. But I think that concept almost applies to developing software and the tools that you use on a day to day as well. Instead of building this tool and forcing everyone to learn how to use it in order to get value out of it, it's almost how can it be customized to your specific needs and workflows as a company or as a
Mm.
organization within the company, to ensure that Pencil kind of slots in as a tool for you that fits very nicely into the workflows that you need, versus you need to reshuffle the way that you work just to be able to onboard Pencil. And I think that is something that we're really looking and will pride ourselves on in terms of being able to slot into the workflows that you have today to really scale and help you build on what you already have, instead of having you figure out how to undertake this entire AI transformation on your own.
100%. Brilliant. All right, Doug. Well, look, is there anything else that we haven't covered off today that you think is important to say, either about Universal Chat or about anything else?
I think that covers it, at least for this time.
Yep.
I will say over the next month there are some cool things coming out, including for Universal Chat, as I mentioned, with kind of the group style. But we have a few other projects that are coming. I'm not gonna tease anything now because I don't want to get into too much trouble. But I will say there are some really cool things that are coming from Pencil side that um, I'm really excited to share with everyone else. I'm sure we'll run another one of these sessions, and we can probably do even a live demo of how those products will work.
We surely will. Brilliant. All right, and I would echo that sentiment. On the live stream, we've got lots of exciting stuff coming up as well. So make sure that you're joining us every Tuesday. If you haven't done so far yet, make sure you're joining our newsletter. The sign up box is on our website at the bottom. So just go to the homepage, scroll to the bottom, and there's a box to sign up to our newsletter, where you can get updates every week on what's going on at Pencil and what's going on in the wider industry as it relates to marketing. So when we're integrating models like Sora 2 from OpenAI or VO 3.1 from Google, we're putting updates out there about that as well, straight into your inbox. So if you are a Pencil user, you really need to be on that newsletter to be ahead of the game in terms of products that are available to you every day inside the platform. And we've got some cool guests coming up as well. I don't think I can trail any of them by name just yet, but suffice it to say, they will be very interesting, much more interesting than me. So we've got some cool people coming up, so make sure that you are hitting the subscribe button on YouTube or LinkedIn to make sure that you don't miss it. But for now, that's everything from us. Doug, thanks so much for jumping on. Great to see you again.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.